Okay, class. So the second part of your instruction this week is actually going to be related to market research. And market research, I like this quote right here, which says that with effective market research, you can determine the need for your service, a product's likelihood to sell, target market demographics, and desirable store locations. So hopefully with adequate and appropriate market research, you will know where to locate your store and who to target, as well as the likelihood to sell, which I hope will be sky high. What you will learn today on this video, you will learn that there are two types of market research. You will learn the major components of market research, and you will learn where to find secondary market research. Spoiler alert! It's going to be in our library databases. So, types of market research. So you've got the primary market research and you've got the secondary market research. Your primary market research is actually gathered right from the source. It is gathered right from relevant stakeholders, people of need, and it can be gathered by the companies themselves. People in your market would be analyzed and asked questions through interviews, surveys. Focus groups are very popular because they are a little easier to conduct than surveys are. And then also you can obtain market research, primary market research through observation. Primary market research is actually targeted to a specific information need, and it's often very complicated and time consuming. You're probably not going to encounter much primary market research for use of this class. And companies, by the way, generally provide the primary market research service. So a lot of times you'll have a company, they're not exactly consultants, but they are companies that are in the business of providing market research to other companies, and that would often be that primary market research. You also have secondary market research, and that includes research reports that are generally gathered through market research companies. Secondary market research provides insight into key market topics. They can either be focused or general, and these reports are very expensive. So that's why you're not going to see them on Google, at least not recent ones, because these are very expensive to produce. People make their money by producing these, and so they sell them to proprietary databases, such as the databases that we subscribe to here at Kimball Library. All right, so, I need to move this down for a second. So, components of market research. Those would include market size. So, that would be your total volume of a particular market. So, for instance, and I'm just making this figure up, it's highly inaccurate, but let's say that you have a market for chocolate covered roaches, and you were in the business of selling these chocolate covered roaches. Um, if the entire whatever food industry included $25 million worth of sales of chocolate covered roaches throughout 2017 in the United States, then that would be your market size. It would be that $25 million for that particular market of those chocolate covered roaches. Market segmentation is a component of market research, and then market share is also a component. Now let me see if I can play with these slides and try to get us a little better focused in here. There we go. This is what we want. So yeah, I just spoke about market size, and there's a little market value thing for the airlines industry in 2009. So all of these market value figures, these are your quote-unquote market size figures. Okay, so there you go. There's another one. No. You can present that in many different forms. Now, market segmentation, there's quite a bit that I actually want to say about this. So, market segmentation is the division of a market into different similar groups. I know that's awkwardly worded, but that's exactly what it is. Different similar groups of customers, products, or geographic segments. A market segment should be measurable, it should be accessible by communication and distribution channels. It should be different in its response to marketing. It should be durable and it should be substantial enough to be profitable. Now, so I wanted to read off a little bit of information from Quick MBA to just kind of supplement this. Um, Rather than offer the same marketing mix to vastly different customers, which, as you guys probably can already assume, wouldn't work or wouldn't be effective, market segmentation makes it possible for firms to tailor the marketing mix for specific market targets, and that makes it easier to satisfy customer needs, to put it in layman's terms. Not all elements of marketing mix necessarily to they aren't always effective from one market to the next. So that's that's the basics of that. And just looking at consumer market segmentation specifically, a basis for segmentation is a factor that varies among groups within a market, but that is consistent within the groups. So you can usually identify four primary bases on which to segment a consumer market. And those are geographic segmentation, which would be based on regional variations, or also things like population density or population growth rate. Those may also fall into that geographic segmentation category. Demographic segmentation is one that we're probably most familiar with, and that's dividing and segmenting the market into such variables as age, gender, race and ethnicity, education level, occupation, income, and family status. There is psychographic segmentation, and that is segmenting your market based on values, attitudes, and beliefs. And then there is behavioral segmentation, which is based on variables such as usage rate of a product or service, price sensitivity, so making sure that you are segmenting so that you are coming up with prices that will be reasonable to those who are seeking a particular thing. And then also brand loyalty and the benefits sought, those also fall under the behavioral segmentation. Now, that is what I said was consumer market segmentation. I did also want to say that there's also a type of segmentation called business market segmentation. And that is when the businesses are not segmenting the market based on consumers, but rather on variables within the company. So, for instance, you can have, again, geographic segmentation, and that would be based on regional variables such as customer concentration, regional industrial growth rate, and international macroeconomic factors. Can also have customer type, and this is based on factors such as the size of the organization, its industry, the position in the value chain, etc. And then finally, buyer behavior, which goes back to the previous consumer market segmentation. But again, how you had behavioral segmentation among consumers, you can also have your buyers' behavior segmentation for businesses, and that's based on such factors again as loyalty to suppliers, usage patterns, and order size. Okay. Oh boy. So I need this thing to be just a little bit larger. So this is a market segmentation sort of image. So you can see that the United States airlines industry is segmented into, in this particular graphic, segmented into domestic and international flight. And as you can see, the domestic segment is the vast majority, 80 or was in 2013, the vast majority of United States Airlines industry business. So most of the 86%, almost 87% of the flights were domestic flights, and then the or sales, I should say, within the flights within the industry. I'm sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. Uh, 87% basically of the revenue from the flights in the airline industry were domestic flights, while only about 13% were international. Okay. And then you've got the market share report, which is one of my favorite things to look at. In market share reports, they divide individual players in the market or the industry, and they see how much of the market or how much of the industry each individual player controls. So the equation for a market share report is very simple. You do a firm's total sales divided by the total sales within the market, and this image should give us an example here, so we're going to go ahead to that. So this is a market share report right here for the top grocers in the Boston, Massachusetts area. I don't know if this is Metro Boston or just Boston proper, but anyway, 2013. And you can get these market share reports from Business Insights Global. So for instance, if we wanted to see how much of the market share Stop and Shop controlled, which here is close to a quarter of it. But as you can see here, Stop and Shop controls 23.7% of the market share. And again, that figure was derived by dividing the total firm sales, in this case Stop and Shop, by the total sales of groceries within the Boston, Massachusetts area. And so that's how you arrive at that figure. And you see those other competitors there are being outdone in the Boston area, but they could be performing better in other areas, or, well, other geographic areas. Okay? And you're going to have this other thing, which gets kind of troubling to me, but there are always going to be smaller, minor outfits that are controlling a little bit of the market share, and those guys just kind of get lumped together as other. Okay, and there's another market share report. And so, last slide. Where to find your market share reports, or where to do your market research, actually. To get your market share reports, as I just said, you want to try to go to Business Insights Global, which you see there on your left. To do other types of market research, these are your two databases through Kimball Library that you're going to want to rely on. Business Insights Global and Business Source Complete. Business Source Complete is very easy to use. If you've used Academic Search Complete or any of the EBSCO databases, it performs roughly the same, but your tutorials will give you some more specific training, which is why you all need to do your tutorials. All right, and that wraps that up. So those are the two lectures. You have the industry lecture, this is your market lecture, and together those are your week 4 lectures. Again, get your assignments in by April the 14th, so they are not due tomorrow, which is April the 6th, but you probably want to go ahead and start working on those because you're going to have week 4 and week 5 things due on April the 14th. If there are any questions, I am always just an email away, jalston@coastal.edu, jalston@coastal.edu, jalston@coastal.edu. Make sure that any snarky comments that you send are snarky comments that you send while I am in a good mood and not thinking about your grade or in your grade book. Thank you all for listening. This is Dr. Jace signing off.